Welcome to Flux Bug Scrub number 20.
Brilliant. Let's go for it. So shall we start with discussions like we did before, or shall we go for issues?
I have a mixed in here, but we can start anywhere you like.
All right, so let's start from the top. Right, let me open this as well. All right, first one. Substitute from value used in a YAML template to not being rendered correctly when used with quotes.
This is more detail than I've seen on this issue before. This is probably an issue I'm aware of, but we should go through it because it's kind of a nasty one.
So the problem is when it's wrapped on the values file.
The problem, as I remember it, is that certain values need to be quoted, and it's possible, but also very difficult to preserve the quotes when you're doing a substitution. So the reason this value needs to be quoted is because it's a number, and it'll be interpreted as a number in YAML.
Well, yeah. And depending on how many quotes and how you put it, it kind of changes completely the result, isn't it?
Yeah, you want to get some quotes at the point of delivery, basically, is the challenge. And I'm not sure if any of those will work. None of them look like the arcane incantation that I'm familiar with, that I've passed along to people before to solve this issue. Let me see if I can find it in my saved Slack messages. That's usually how I keep track of really odd things as I find them. Yeah, here it is. Great.
Is this a Helm specific thing, or can we help?
This is how
Like
I propose to help this
programmatically?
person. Programmatically, I'm not sure how you help this because YAML is just going to behave the way that YAML behaves. And we don't usually want quotes around the value, I think, but there might be a way to fix it that's better than this stupid wrap your quotes with escaped quotes thing and then quote them again.
Yeah, and we definitely should document that somewhere. Do we have any reference to this on the documentation?
I'm not sure. I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it might be worth just kind of putting that as a follow-up. We definitely need to document. Well, if we want to change the behavior as well, we need to kind of figure out, because as you said, the current approach is not very user-friendly.
Thank you. I think that's the way I put it last time this came up, was that we would like to document this, but maybe not as it is, if there's a better way that we could propose. I'm not sure that's the issue, though. I think there might be enough people who have already done this, unless whatever solution we come up with still works with this. I would be afraid of how it might break people's stuff that they've already encountered and worked around this issue.
Yeah. Yeah, keeping backwards compatibility with that kind of stuff is going to be a bit of a pain. But yeah, that makes sense. Are you going to comment on the issue?
Yeah, I'm gonna put a little bit more in there about that.
Let me. Right, let me just put.
Oh no, I didn't close my prints.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. I tagged that you kind of responded that one already. So let's go for the next one. Wait for Kubernetes jobs to complete on customized controller. So currently K-status does not support waiting for jobs, and it doesn't look like this feature will be implemented anytime soon. For Flux users, this means they can't use the spec wait, and spec depends on, to create a delivery pipeline that applies DB migrations jobs, wait for the migration to complete, and only then apply the application updates. We should look into K-status custom readers and implement our own job status as solution.
That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah. Not sure if there's anything for us to do on this one.
I wouldn't think so. We could give it a check mark or red circle or whatever you want.
Just the red circle then. Let's open this one. All right, any more scopes to the default Kubernetes cluster rows? Kubernetes has some cluster rows. View that allow access read to all resources. Right now, it does not allow any access to the Flux resources as they have to be explicitly added. I wonder if there's a good idea to add these aggregated rows. This is how Cert Manager does that. Well, we could definitely look into it.
That's very nice of them to include an example. I'd like to include it in the docs at the very least.
Yeah, I definitely think we could do that, especially considering the aggregation kind of pattern. I remember there was a security issue with that recently, but I think it was just for like a specific Kubernetes cluster row, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, yeah, I agree. I think we should at least document it to start with, but potentially update that on our Flux YAML files.
So is that something that we could include with the base distribution? And does that make sense? If you have Kubernetes view access, then you get view access to Flux too?
Well, it depends how we're creating our policies about our cluster rows at the moment, but we should be able to do that. We probably need to review all the rows we have right now anyway, because at the moment we have one for get, but this is for the CRD. I know that in some places, for like specific controllers, we have this more broken down. But yeah, I probably would create that as an issue. I think that is probably the best way about it.
Okay, I can convert this to an issue on the Flux2 repo.
Yeah, that would be a nice one.
And then I think probably that's where it belongs in terms of final landing place. I don't think there's another place for it.
Yeah, and probably create that at, well, Flux2. Yeah, that's the right repo. Yeah, but basically, yeah. So for example, source controller, we do have like a viewer row, an editor row, and stuff like that. But I'm not sure how this materializes to actually the Flux to manifest. But we could definitely do something like that. Cool. All right, let me mark that. Install Flux manifest from different source. Oh, sorry, we're going to say something, Sunny.
I was about to say the
Go for it.
viewer role thing. I see the manifest that we have in source controller. I'm not sure if it's automatically generated by KubeBuilder or somebody wrote it. Do you know?
Oh, I see. Oh, well, actually, that was something I was going to look at least to make sure that we're generating some of them, the ones that are for the actual controllers. The ones that are there, they're like view, for example, well, viewer row and stuff like that. I would assume, yeah, it's for end users, so I would assume it was manually created. Yeah, but again, we have to think which ones would actually be okay to aggregate, which ones we don't want to, and then the repercussions of each one of those. But yeah,
and if it was created manually, there is a chance that we need to update it. It may not function properly.
Yeah, ideally we would definitely automate all those things. So as soon as we create new types, it just recreates, isn't it? Well, let's take that as part of that issue. So once we get to look into that, we kind of see both things. Make sure that they're created automatically and make sure that they are least privileged. Cool.
Sounds good.
Brilliant. Let's go for this one. Let's see if it's. So this is an issue on Terraform provider Flux. Installing Flux manifest from a different source. Internal network, not on GitHub. I set base URL option in manifest, and that seems to not do what I want.
So it's not going to work in an environment where you don't have access to GitHub? I didn't realize that. I thought the Terraform provider would have been air gap ready, but I guess not.
Yeah, so basically it might be like an air gapped environment that they just don't want you to fetch releases from GitHub, which kind of makes sense. So there is already a pull request for that. Yeah, I think it would be good to reveal.
Is anyone on the call already have write access to the Terraform provider? Sunny, you have, I think, write access across the whole org, right?
I can approve and run. Yeah.
Yeah.
Started.
All right. So let's go to this one then. Feature. Okay, is it okay to start the other one?
Yep.
Cool. So feature request, select selector like config options for alert CRD based on label. So this is on notification controller. Yeah, so per the current documentation on the alert CRD, when configuring multiple event sources, you must manually enumerate each CRD type and name. Since manually configuring things is something, yeah, that is not great. Introducing a selector-like option for alerts could be useful. Yeah, pretty much a wild card. It's like all Git repos and customizations. Yeah, so Stefan's
That
Right.
looks good. Good
Yeah,
proposal.
yeah, I think it looks good. I would just plus one on that one.
Yeah.
Nothing to do on this really. And let's see this other one. How many chart version available? Notification example. All right, so it's pretty much a notification example for when a new Helm chart is available, right?
Yeah. I've done that, I think. The only complication is we don't know what you're using to serve your Helm charts. And some of them might support webhooks and some of them might not. Harbor, for instance, I know does. And I'm not sure if Chart Museum does. I'm not sure if how you would do it with GitHub pages hosted version. Maybe maybe you could just use a repository webhook for the Git repository.
Probably, yeah.
I don't think you can filter by branches, but I also don't think it matters that much if it fires too often.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Do you want to,
Yeah, I can follow this up.
yeah, to share the recommendation? Oh, well, yeah. Oh, actually, never mind. This. Cool, documentation error. That's an interesting one. Mentions spec path, but there is no such field in the Git repository object. Oh, I think, all right, let's go back to customization. Oh, let me just reopen this. Yeah,
I think it's just a little bit ambiguous. It should say in the spec.path of the Flux customization.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it might be worth following up on that as well. database migration. Nice one. Yeah, so database migration. I'm new to FluxCD and Kubernetes. I already have automatic rollout, but before rolling out the new image, I need to run database migration. I think this might be related to what Stefan created recently that we just went through. Propose a good way to solve it, but I do not like the name of the job as a version. I could have some conflict if your infrastructure needs two jobs that depend on the service version. Oh yeah, this already kind of relates to the point from Stefan. To be honest, that example from Solab, I think, kind of works, doesn't it?
Yeah, should we mark one of these as, oh, you don't have that button.
No, I don't have the access yet.
Which one do you think gets the nod? Probably
I would go for this one.
the top answer there.
Because on top of that, you know, there are some more context and stuff and follow up, like for example on this. But for the key question from Kaula, I think so. Let kind of answer that. All right, so let's mark that as yes. Answered. Let me open a new one. Right, upgrade to latest source controller S3 bucket reconciliation is stuck. Hello, after upgrade, Flux to the latest version 0.20, so that was before the latest release. S3 bucket reconciliations get stuck with error.
Yeah, so I can give you the synopsis of this issue and where we're at so far. I tested it with my own bucket, which was not very large and not specifically an AWS S3 bucket. It was Minio. I didn't have any issues. Hide suggested increasing the timeout, and it looks like this is just a bucket that takes about 2.5 minutes to download. And I'm not sure if that's because there is too much content, but it looks like it's a regression for us, at least, because it didn't do that in the previous version.
But did anything happens on that specific bucket? Like, did it increase, you know, something that it has, for example?
That's a good question.
Because it's really, given that they, you know, it's not a static thing, it's really hard for us to tell for a fact that nothing else changed.
And it does say, though, after downgrade source controller to 0.18, it works again.
Ooh. Let me just quickly see something. Are we talking about, is it source controller, right? What is the version that works?
0.18.0 source controller.
Yeah, let's just go 0.18. There was a compare button with, yeah, the new version. So what do we use for bucket? Do you have any?
I don't have a clue.
What do you use in the library?
Yeah, which library we use to
Mini.
consume
I see Minio in
Minio.
there, yeah.
Minio.
Minio Go.
with V now. Is it with V the name?
I did see Minio, M-I-N-I-O.
Oh, Minio. Oh, yeah, sorry.
7.0.15 from 7.0.10.
Yeah, so the only thing that changed was this guy. Yeah, that's. Wonder if it's worth. Yeah, I think we could try to follow up and check. Well, there's a lot of things with regression, yeah. Parse error, refresh error. The version before was 10, 15. Yeah, I think there might be some sort of like regression there. We could.
Nothing's jumping out, but we could produce a build with that one back down and ask this person if it fixes it.
Yeah. Or even, yeah, it would be good to have something that actually we time, and then when we have regression in performance, we can actually track that probably on buckets and also GitHub or Git overall. So, for example, the change that I've done on Git, I don't know if that, for example, might have made things slower or faster. Can't tell. It would be good if we had some sort of benchmarks for that kind of stuff. I'll follow up, create an issue on that. Let me just mark that on that perspective. But on top of that, for these guy, while you're planning, like, shall we?
I've got a response I'm drafting here, so
Okay.
So that at least we get down what we've discussed here just now.
Okay.
Some other differences between the two versions are we are using new Go.
Okay.
Could it be related to Go?
Ooh. That's interesting. Only
because that upgrade is just a patch version upgrade. It's less likely to have anything. It can have anything, but even Go update can introduce some issues, right?
Yeah. I wonder if there's anything else, maybe indirect dependency. Again, like it gets harder and harder to know, isn't it? But as well, I would assume they would just update minor releases of the dependencies within a minor update.
If you open source controller pull request number 498, that is where it's updated. So you can see the transitive dependencies.
498, yeah, 498.
See the transitive dependencies.
Go humanize, yeah. Go humanize, class compress. That could be
Compress that can have some effect, I guess.
Crypto. Well,
Compress was introduced. It was not there before.
compress. Could take some time.
When you download, there's some compression, right? It can be related.
Well, maybe they now support like artifact compression, and that makes it slower to decompress. I don't know. I'm kind of just thinking out loud. So yeah, I think ultimately, if we get back to him, and then on top of that, try to come up with some sort of like benchmarking, especially for those things that are very time sensitive. We might find a way forwards. Do we have any sort of benchmark on anything at the moment?
I would be very surprised if the answer is yes. I don't think we do.
Okay, that is fine. So yeah, I will create an issue and then we see how we approach it. Cool. So all right, let me actually leave that one open so I go back to that. Yeah, cool. All right, so image automation controller shows commit success, but no commits in Git repo. Oh, when I tried image update automation earlier today, I found that there is no commit in my repo, while the image automation status tells me that push succeeded. Oh, but
It could be one of those like issues in image automation where it just logs when even if it doesn't do anything.
Oh, I see.
Possibly. Maybe, I don't know. But I've heard similar things before. Like there will be unnecessary notifications from image automation, even if nothing happens.
Cool. So basically that needs more investigation then. Do we have any label for that, by the way?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
This will be resolved once we use our new controller writing techniques. Now this will go away. We are very strict about what we emit. So things will be fine. Maybe in a few weeks.
I can get that across in a response here. When should I tell them to expect it to land? No,
I don't know.
Yes, in the future.
Yeah, well, I think we can do two things. First, say that this might be a false positive, and the controller is just kind of putting something, even though it didn't do anything. We are working on a rewrite following up source controller, and we hope to have that landing soon. Because I'm not even sure, like probably image automation controller will be one of the last ones, right? We'll probably do all the core ones first before we kind of go to the other ones, right, Sunny?
Next would be customize and Helm, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
We may start touching the other ones as well. I think before telling about anything, we need to actually verify, reproduce, and see actually what is happening. It's possible what I am saying is something else.
Oh, I see.
This message may be something else from what we have seen before.
I see.
Trying to reproduce it would be better. Or asking them, can you share some setup so that we can reproduce this?
Got it.
Yeah, that sounds good. All right.
Kingdom, we had a discussion about adding some example filter rules for the notification controller, right?
Yes.
Do you remember the message we are adding for that, for image automation
The filter,
in the filter?
I was filtering out the dependency weight message, but I'm not sure we're talking about the same conversation.
I was wondering what if we share some templates of filtering some messages. Did we have a message that was related to that reported issue? Maybe no. Maybe not related at all. Anyway, forget about it.
So shall we go to this one now? So we stuck in reconciling on syscontroller. The errors they're getting is well, two things. So GitHub stuck, Git repo is stuck in internal reconciling in progress status. Even when timeout is set, Git repo reconcile failing immediately with the message unable to clone, error creating SSH agent. Oh, that's interesting. Try forward install and rebootstrapping to no success. Ensure sudo copy of your Git repository. All right. Yeah, that's gonna be interesting.
This looks default, right? It's not using libgit too. Oh, it's a GoGit. Okay, it's written GoGit, right? GoGit has this issue.
Shall we
But
ask?
it should be, huh?
I was going to say if it's worth asking them to try with libgit too.
But if you're using GoGit, this is using the Go transport, so it's not even using leave SSH dependency. So SSH error seems weird.
What's there again? Well, let's just see. Go get, yeah. No, it's
So it's related to submodules. Oh,
yeah, submain.
we are fixing. It's 2017. Commit.
So it might be important to find out what the Git repository has in its submodules file, if there are any submodules.
Yeah, that's.
Is it possible to call out to like a custom auth provider in a submodules file? I've never seen anything like that, but I don't know how else you get an error like this.
Yeah, but that's the thing, like he even tried to do that against this large repo and had the same problem. So what version he's using? 10. Well, we haven't changed anything that's been wrong for this specifically. To be honest, I think it might be easier just to ask them to use, well, try to upgrade to the version 21, and then try again on both GoGit and libgit too, because then we might get some sort of error message that is easier for us to kind of investigate. What do you think, Sunny?
We should get some clarity. Is it actually related to these? Something it must be related to Go transport, I guess.
Yeah, it's just weird that even using our example, they get the same problem. But
They're not using submodule, right? In the example they provided.
well, if they try this, the thing is that the only thing is they don't say exactly what is there doing this. They just say that it doesn't work. It just gets stuck in reconcile, which I think is the first problem. Is it common to do that? So you ignore everything, you exclude everything, and then just include something specific. But I'm assuming that wouldn't be. I'm not sure if that could be the problem why it's hanging when it gets stuck.
Like there is a cloning issue, right? Cloning should not. Oh, this should not affect cloning. This is like at the end when you create the artifact, then you consider these rules.
Okay. No.
Well, I wrote a short response. I'm not sure how much progress we'll make here, but I think this is what you asked for.
Yeah, just see if we can get more information by them. Yeah, going to the latest, trying both. I wonder as well that the whole continuous like hanging might be as well related to having an interval that is smaller than a timeout.
Oh,
Because what that could result is that if you're hanging for something and then you start another process and then you're hanging for that as well, don't know if that might mess up the way we're dealing with the Git connections. I don't know.
I know that's been a problem before because at one point that was the default, that the interval and timeout were the same and you never saw error messages because it would always.
I see. You would timeout first and then the context would be queued and some things might be ignored, isn't it?
And by the time you got a chance to look for the error messages, they were gone, or it was. So we changed the default, or Stefan changed the default so that 30 seconds less than whatever you have set in interval now, timeout as the default.
I think this is related to timing, context timeout. Can you open that Go Git issue that you found? That has a link to the fix, and the fix has a code that is related to a fetch call, which has a context. So my guess is timing, timing that link in the previous page.
Is it this?
The Go Git page. That link, the link in the center of the page. In that page.
Sorry, I'm absolutely lost.
Go Git issue. Open the Go Git page.
Is it this?
This link.
Oh, I see.
So there is the fix for this, which introduces a field, and it's passing that to fetch context. So fetch context looks like it is actually doing cloning, because there is this error that says it's already up to date. So if this function fails, it will result in a timeout, which may be causing this issue. Maybe I'm just making some guesses.
Yeah, especially if they have a sub module on that repo, right? Because this is within the sub module part of Cookie. But yeah,
Just a guess. I think it's related to the timing because we have the example, I think, which runs in various tests and that passes. It could be their internet connection is slow and it's unable to clone.
on that point, is it worth we do some sort of investigation on our side to see if we potentially should actually have some sort of validation and make sure the interval is always smaller, actually is greater than the timeout.
If that's what's happening, then yeah, I think so. I'm not quite there yet, but I'm not certain that we didn't already fix that issue that it was a long time ago that I observed that. And I know the defaults fix it one way, but there might already be another reason why setting interval less than timeout doesn't cause a problem. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but I think it feels like we probably should reject. Well, maybe we won't be able to do that with our admission controller, but like depending on the setting of timeout and interval, ideally we would just reject that Git repository.
Does it make any
warnings?
Does it make any sense that if we had an interval less than timeout and the repo was still syncing when the interval was reached, that we would just stall the interval until the timeout was actually reached? Because I can see, like a reasonable argument that I might want to be reconciling on a tight interval something that takes longer than the interval to sync and become healthy. And I don't know that that should be a failure, right? I should be able to say, I want this drift to be corrected if it appears once every minute. And also it might take 3 whole minutes to become ready. That shouldn't be invalid.
I'm not sure, to be honest. Well, yeah, I don't know.
Well, it's
I don't think
debate anyway.
I don't think it matters. The interval value is set in the result that you return from the reconciler. And that is just telling the reconciler that you need to requeue after this interval. But while your reconciliation is going on, and if you time out, I don't think it matters. It will not cancel your ongoing reconciliation.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping.
So I don't think it matters. We don't need such validation.
You're being a little liberal with the medals here. I usually just give it a check mark unless it's actually solved.
Oh, I see.
It's okay.
So shall we just put
it doesn't
that?
matter anyway. It's fine.
Probably put that on that one. All right. So let's get this one. We still have 4 minutes to go. Authentication required error even after a supplied HTTP token. So I'm getting error below while bootstrapping Git bucket, maybe? After supplying HTTP token. Can someone please suggest me if there is any other credentials that need to be supplied? Or Bitbucket?
I haven't used Flux with Bitbucket in a long time. I'm not even sure I remember there being a personal access token in Bitbucket, but that just tells you how long it's been.
Yeah, I haven't used that as well.
This is related to Bootstrap. Like in the recent release, we added Bitbucket support, right? This is a new thing. maybe 2 releases back we added the Bitbucket support, right?
I think you're right, because I don't remember seeing it before. I can put it on my agenda and probably follow it up tomorrow or later today.
Okie dokie. All right, so let's pull this. Right. Let's see this last one here. All right, allow variable substitution of plain value without line feed removal. It's kind of similar to the other one we had before, no? So the variable substitution documentation systematically performs line feed removal in values. Ooh. Okay. And related rationale during the PR. As a result, this prevents using variable substitution to construct line feed sensitive string fields from files loaded with config generator.
Oh, I think is this actually like provided with an example for how to implement it, or because I don't think this is really something we intended, but that's pretty thorough of a suggestion here, it looks like. Usually what we tell folks is when they are using the string substitution, they should not do complex things with it, including multi-line strings. And that's partially because it's so easy to ruin the formatting of the YAML. And we don't have any guardrails to prevent that. So there's, this is really meant to be a limited use case. I could respond and tell this person that, but I'm not sure they're going to like it.
Yeah,
I'll almost always suggest to use patches, and if at all possible, patches in a separate file, because then you get the full benefit of whatever YAML parser you have in your editor, and you can lint the YAML with conventional methods and even validate it if your patch is a completely well-formed resource. So I can respond, but this fellow apparently works for Orange, so maybe I should be delicate about it. I think they're a customer. If he wants this feature, maybe he really wants it. I don't know.
all right. Yeah, well, I definitely think that your suggestion would be worth to start with, because if we were to change this, this would change, would be a breaking change, because we effectively would stop removing the line breaks.
Well, he suggested to use an annotation to opt in to the new behavior.
Yeah, across the board, yeah. Ooh.
That sounds like now it will not be a breaking change, but when we do go V1, then it'll be a breaking change. This is a technique to avoid that.
I don't follow. Why do you say that?
So doing this right now will be a breaking change, right? So we don't want to do that. So work around this, have an annotation, and then for this annotation, apply the new behavior. But maybe when we do V1, we will tell people that this is a breaking change, this is a new behavior, and we'll not have the annotation. Like such flags are kind of burden to maintain, right? Introducing more conditions.
Yeah, because if you don't test both conditions, every different test can fail in a different way.
Do you know if we have more such situations where we are adding some annotation for some extra behavior, different behavior? Any other
I think of
component?
one that came up recently. We added a new annotation to avoid, what is it called? Ignore or something. That used to be in Flux v1. There was an ignore annotation and we didn't have anything like it. Just tells the customized controller to leave this resource alone.
Oh, but that was on the actual target resource, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But like, is there anything that we would change the behavior of the controller based on an annotation?
I don't think so. I can't think of one.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, if we probably need a discussion around how to introduce that kind of thing. You know, like if we want to have feature flags and stuff like that. But on this case specifically, yeah, I'm not sure if that is the way. Well, so
Well,
what
I'll
first?
politely respond and I'll give the information at least about the disposition towards how this feature usually works for context. But I'm not going to tell this person they can't have what they want. I'll let the maintainers handle that if it comes to that.
Cool. That makes sense. All right. I think we're running out of time now.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, guys. That was a nice one, and I hope you guys have a nice day.
Yeah.
Wait, we have Bob. Did you had any question?
No, I didn't have any questions. I just kind of wanted to see how you guys run these things and yeah, listen along. I got a bit,
Okay.
some of it I managed to cling on to, but other parts maybe will come.
Thanks for stopping in.
Thank you.